What's going on, guys? Happy 2025. There's a lot to learn in 2024. So I'm excited to make this video because I'm putting myself to the test in 2025 and I'm setting a goal to produce more content, to put it that way. And I was watching a video by Tom Noski. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But he made a video about how a few years back he got invited to, a Sony creators convention, which I wouldn't do because the fact that I don't have any Sony gear. Well, I have one Sony camera, but it's my wife's. But he was talking about how making videos at first can be intimidating. And I agree with that. Putting yourself out there, it's very different because you have a lot of apprehension about what friends may think, what your family may think, if honestly anyone cares. And to be honest, I just don't care about that anymore. I'm making these videos because maybe someone somewhere will resonate with something I'm saying, and I actually made a challenge with a friend to make one video a week in 2025, just to practice consistency and create more content and just take the initiative to be consistent in not just one thing, but anything you do. And I spent I spent a lot of money in 2024, not only on my gear, but, it was a definitely transformational year for me personally, getting married and, kind of taking these next steps in life. And as I continued to do exactly this, I found that I enjoy it. And for I think my 72 subscribers on YouTube, this is what I'm going to call my true starting point, because I started doing this mid 2024 with really no true objective in mind other than, my wife, who was my fiance at the time, talked to me about how she wanted to create vlogs and wanted to get on board with just creating content. And so I wanted to challenge her, and I started this channel and I started doing content because of the fact that I wanted to show her how easy it was. And it's not easy, don't get me wrong, but the easiest part and the hardest part about it is truly just doing it. And when it comes down to it, the biggest drawbacks for me personally were, I want to have the best gear. I want to have this. And, then I went back and forth from, I moved away from Canon and I moved over to Fujifilm, and then I started exploring some Sony, and then I got rid of my Sony camera. And now I'm shooting on all Fujifilm, minus my one Sony camera, my Ricoh, and the one Leica that I have. But it's, as someone kindly reminded me, it's more of a Panasonic than a Leica. But, all things considered, I'm really excited for 2025 because I wanted to make this goal and make this initiative something that everybody else could feel like it was more attainable. And it's just, the biggest thing is just doing it. So, I wanted to say thank you for everybody who watched my videos in 2024. I want to say thank you to everyone, my friends, my family, who's supported me on just doing this so far. And for those who don't think I'm doing any good job, that's okay. Because you know what, I'm learning along the way, and I just want to truly put this out there of anybody who wants to try to start making content. The biggest challenge is getting over yourself, because at the end of the day, there's somebody who's going to like this content. And I think that's important because it's, for me, it's a very good creative relief. But I'm excited to continue to do more reviews. I'm excited to continue hopefully not buying as much gear as I did in 2024 because my bank account could probably use a little bit of a rest. But I've loved starting to produce content, and I think it's definitely going to become a part of my everyday life. And if any of you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, then you see that I try to put out content every day. And whether it's videos, whether it's talking heads, whether it's just videos of my photos, I just want to have something out there that anyone can relate to, anyone can enjoy. And I think that's the beauty of photography and content creation, is there's so much content to share. And I think this year is going to be a huge year for me personally, and I'm excited to see what happens. But all things considered, I want to talk about some of the gear that I'm coming into 2025 with. Clearly it's not on video at the moment, but I've been rocking my XH2 for the past 3 months now. I love this camera. Was I on the fence between the XH2 and the XH2S? Yes, 100%. But I'm not filming a lot of fast motion videos, and a friend of mine who is actually in the process of getting an XH2S, she's much more oriented towards video. So I feel like both cameras have their niche. One of my friends says I always say it incorrectly, so whatever. But the 40 megapixel on this camera is beyond phenomenal. I mean, it's the same sensor that I have on my X-T50. So I just really resonated with that camera, and I wanted something that was weatherproofing. It was a little bit more ergonomic and just had the bulk to it, because I was so used to having a very heavy Canon, my 6D Mark II, which was a behemoth. I mean, that thing could be a weapon in the streets. The XH2, very similar, aside from switching from full frame crop sensor, which there's still days where I'm debating getting something that will be in the full frame world. But in the meantime, I love this camera. I think it's great. The photos it produces are spectacular. I currently have it set up with a lens that I haven't shown on the channel at all, because the fact that I'm using it more often than not. I picked up the Viltrox 13mm 1.4 2 months ago, and that's what I've been using for all of my talking head oriented videos. This lens is wicked sharp. I was debating, because when I had my Sony, I also had the Sigma 16mm 1.4, and I was debating getting that for Fuji, but then I realized that maybe I wanted to go with a little bit wider, so I ended up picking up the Viltrox, and I'm beyond glad I did. A more recent video I put on TikTok and Instagram, I picked up this Viltrox 27mm 1.2. This thing is a beast, and the image quality on this is going to be a whole nother video on itself. The image quality on this is insane, and I was blown away by it. Like, that's really all I can say without going in depth and making this entire video about this lens. But aside from the XH2, going into with where I started making videos about my X-T50, and I actually have this paired with an adapter for a Minolta 50mm fully manual lens. I feel like this is just a fun setup. I need to get more into manual shooting, because this camera, I don't use it enough, but it's spectacular. I love the X-T50. This is what set me on my Fujifilm path, so I can't say anything but good things for this. Ultimately, always have my Ricoh GR, which I decided to get a hand grip for this, for when especially I'm using my filter. It's kind of covers everything. It covers all the holes when I'm taking it out on the beach, because I do have a Haugi. I'm not sure how you say that. I do have another adapter on it, which I'll show that at some point, but not super relevant to what I'm talking about right now. And then the ever faithful Osmo Pocket. A friend recommended me this. I've used this for a lot of shots on this channel so far. I've used it for a lot of social media. This is a groundbreaking camera. And whether it be the Action 5, which I think that's what DJI is on now, or this camera, you can't beat it. The stabilization is just next level. Video quality is very good. I wish it would shoot in 4K vertical, but that is another conversation for another time. And then more recently, because my X100T is way over there, so I'm not going to go worry about getting that. More recently, I did get an XT or XE3. I have a lot of Fujifilm cameras. I have a problem. It is not financially smart to do what I'm doing, especially when you're not sponsored by anything. But I like this a little bit more than my X100T. One, because it has the updated sensor. It's the 24.3. I think it's the X-Trans 3 sensor. I have it paired with the 28mm. This is as pocketable. It's not as pocketable as the Ricoh, but it's very pocketable. And I definitely find this more travel compatible than my X-T50. But this is a fun camera. Still shoots 4K, so I'm probably going to shoot video on this at some point. I do honestly wish I would have found an XE4 with the same sensor as the X100V, mainly because the XE4 had the pop-out screen. This does not pop out. It just stays there. So, still a great camera. I'm constantly hunting for deals, so that's my problem. But, you know, all things considered, I just wanted to make a very simple entering 2025 video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed just talking, I guess. Talking to the camera in general, but you're going to see more of me in 2025. So here is me, you know, making a verbal agreement with YouTube. One video once a week. Who knows, maybe more. But one video weekly for all of 2025. See you then. Peace.